Welcome to the Newsome MMA Betting Podcast, sponsored by CBD Life UK. I'm your host, as always, Newsome, and tonight we're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 130 from Liverpool, England. For this podcast, I'm with Ryan. Ryan's one of the lads from back home in Doncaster. We've been staying up on that 6 a.m. grind for years now, watching UFC, and this week Ryan wanted to break some fights down on this UK card for you guys too. So how's it going, man?
All right, how are you?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to breaking this one down. I'm stoked for it. I did try and get us tickets to the event, but unfortunately over here in England there's something called ticket touts.
Ticketmaster.
Yeah, they develop bots which ultimately hoover all the tickets up within minutes and then pump them back out for around 4 times the original price. It's complete bullshit. Nothing gets done about it, but you know, it is what it is. But we have managed to get tickets for UFC Hamburg in Germany in July, so it's all good. You know, every cloud and all that. And on the plus side
Yeah.
for this card as well, it's a Sunday card. It's on a bank holiday weekend for us in the UK, and the weather's scorching right now over here. With it starting at 3 p.m. UK time, you can guarantee we'll be watching it whilst out on a day session as well. So it's going to be a fun Sunday for sure.
Bank
Um,
holiday.
Absolutely, man. I'm definitely going to be out on the beers. If there's no TVs with it about, it's my phone's going to be propped up against my pint, no doubt about that. But let's get to these breakdowns. Let's get it rolling. So as always, I've got my bets listed. We'll be breaking those down in full for you. Everything else that isn't on the betting list, I'll be quick firing off at the end. Give you a quick prediction, a method of victory, and why I've passed on the bet as well. So for the first full breakdown of the podcast, we've got Arnold Allen versus Burnell. Now, it's a fight that I feel like I've got a really good read on, and it's also a fight that's got a really off betting line as well. So straight up, I've got 1.5 units on Burnell at plus 250. I think as well, I could be wrong. I'm not sure without looking through the history of my bets, but I think it's probably the biggest underdog that I've ever bet, and I'm actually really confident in it as well. I'm shocked that the line's this wide. Now, Arnold Allen, he comes from a boxing background. He's had a few fights in the UFC, and he's looked okay. He's a decent fighter, um, and he's got an underrated grappling game too. To say that he comes from that amateur boxing ground, but the common theme with him that I've noticed is his grappling. He does well with takedowns, trip takedowns, and scrambles, but that's against fighters that are susceptible to that style of fighting. So you look at his last fight against Amirkhani. Amirkhani is someone that I don't think has a great top game. I don't think he holds down fighters very well. He loses position a lot, and that's the sort of fighter that I think Allen really does well against when it comes to grappling. But Burnell's a completely different animal. He's got a solid wrestling game. He's got great balance in scrambles. He's got a heavy top game too. And you know, I just think overall his relentless wrestling is really going to wear Allen down, and it's going to be the difference in this fight. Looking at the striking between the two, like I've already mentioned, Allen's coming from a boxing background. He's got crisp boxing fundamentals. He doesn't have too much power going behind his strikes, even though he has scored a few knockouts, especially the Meza fight as well. I think he was knocked out on the bell, but still counted as a decision. Um, Allen is the better striker, but Burnell comes forward really well as well. He moves his head off the centre line constantly, which is the first thing that I noticed. Makes himself a difficult moving target. As he's coming forward, he throws bombs over the top of his opponent's guard. That allows him to really close the distance to get the fight where he wants to be, which is shooting takedowns, double legs, single legs, chaining takedowns together against the cage, and ultimately scoring the takedowns and putting his opponents on the back. His striking isn't perfect, but as I've said with other fighters previously, another one, and I use this example quite a lot in Alan Patrick. He hasn't got great striking, but his striking is so good because it's tailored to what he needs to do, which is get the fight to the mat, and that's the same with Burnell here. I think that's going to be the story of the fight. I think Burnell's takedown threat's going to really make Allen wary of overcommitting. I don't think Allen can use too many kicks in this fight because if he starts kicking, Burnell will catch the kicks, he'll take him down. So really, when you're looking at it from an overall perspective, you've got Burnell in there that's got to beat a boxer. And yeah, Allen's improving. He's still young, but so's Burnell. I know Allen's at TriStar. That does worry me a little bit because they game plan really well with Faraz Zahabi and his team. They do such a good job of game planning. But I just think that Allen's Allen's going to have to try and scramble the takedowns early on. I think he'll quickly realise that it's not going to be as easy as he's had it in his previous fights. I think that Burnell will realise this as well. I think when Burnell starts having success with the takedowns, he'll just become more relentless with the takedowns. I can't see a finish here. I don't think he'll finish Arnold Allen. I'll be really surprised if he does. But then he does have a great submission game as well. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to finish ultimately, but I do think he's going to win a dominant decision. I think it's going to be at least a 29-28 unanimous decision, and I just cannot see Arnold Allen stuffing the takedowns over. Well, he's got to stuff takedowns for 2 rounds to win the fight, and I don't think he'll do it for 2 rounds. He might be able to do it the last round if Burnell tires, because this is something else to mention. Remember, Burnell missed weight on his last fight, came in the bigger guy. He's already the bigger guy against Allen. If he misses weight again, he's going to have a strength advantage, definitely. So, yeah, ultimately, like I say, I really can see Mads Burnell winning this fight, and I think the line's completely off. I was willing to play this at like plus 100. I did anticipate it being about plus 150, maybe plus 175 because of Allen's fighting in his home country, but I did not anticipate a plus 250 line, so I'm all over that, and I think Burnell wins a unanimous decision victory. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, well, when it comes down to it, I had Burnell, but I do disagree with some of the stuff he said. I really think it's, when I brought this fight down a little bit, I thought that both scrambles really inconsistently. Burnell, especially in his last fight, some of his scrambles, I thought, well, the guy, who are it now?
Mike Santiago.
Fought last?
Mike Santiago.
Yeah, that was it, yeah. Yeah, that was the one. And Max Santiago scrambled pretty easy in some of them, but Burnell is really good on top, which I agree with. I don't know. I had down. I think it could definitely go to a split this, but I have got it down Burnell to win. But I'm not. I don't know. I do think it's a lot closer than you think. But like you've just said, it's a mint price, mint underdog. And like you say, when you're confident on a pick, you've got to take them prices, haven't you?
Definitely. And just to bounce back from that, I mean, I think the Arnold Allen tapes, like I say, it's really deceiving because of the fighters that he's fought in regards to the grappling. Like I say, Amirkhani's not that great in scrambles, which I'll definitely touch upon very shortly, because he's also on this card. And Meza as well. He's not a great scrambler either. Now, I'm not saying Mike Santiago is, but the one thing that I liked about Burnell is he didn't. If he misses that takedown, if he gets out scrambled, he'll get back to his feet, because Mike Santiago did have a little bit of success on the ground as well. But he'll keep coming. He'll keep coming in. It's that relentless wrestling pressure that I just love betting that style.
Yeah, well,
because it's
going back to what you
style.
said though, he did weigh in £5 overweight in his last fight, and I wrote down. I think if he does manage to get to that 145, that could take a lot out of him. I mean, he's not been to that weight obviously before, because he couldn't fucking met that weight last time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very fucking interesting to see if it goes past 1.5 rounds. If he takes him down 2, 3, 4 times, can he do that in second and third? I don't know. That's what's making me iffy on this fight. I think he's going to be a split, and it's going to be very close. But like I said, I think it all comes down to who scrambles the most, because like I said, they both seem to be very good at turning the top game to bottom, blah, blah. And Burnell, when he's on top, he does manage to stay in control a lot, which it does look a little bit better than when Arnold's on top.
Yeah, I mean, because when Arnold was on top against Amirkhani, I mean, that fight was actually really fun to watch from a scrambling point of view, because I don't believe any of them are that great at scrambling. So it actually made for a good spectacle, because they were both sweeping, they were both reversing, they both had moments on the bottom, both had moments on the top. It was really fun to watch. But man, I'm gonna come out and say this as well. I think Mads Burnell's special, and come back to me in like 2 years if you remember this conversation, because I think this dude's ceiling is high as fuck. And I'm not saying I'm not saying he's going to be top 5. I'm not saying he's going to be top 10 necessarily, although I do believe he probably could make that top 10. But the dude's 23, I think, if I remember rightly, and I genuinely think this dude's got a really, really high ceiling. So 1.5 unit Mads Burnell at plus 250. So moving on to the next full breakdown, we've got Jason Knight against Makwan Amirkhani, and I think this is a brilliant stylistic fight for Jason Knight. But I do honestly believe if Knight was in this cage against another hard hitting guy, I would worry and I wouldn't have bet him, because it does seem like he had a lot taken out of that chin against Ricardo Lamas, and he did get beat up against Gabriel Benitez as well. But since that, I have heard that off numerous sources as well that Jason Knight was really, really sick during that Gabriel Benitez fight, which I sort of get in a way, because before I found that out, I was looking back at Knight thinking, yeah, something just wasn't right that night, and I just put it down to an off performance because it happens in this sport and it's part of the game. But yeah, apparently he was really sick, so it does make sense. Now, Jason Knight is a fighter that, like I said, I would worry if he was fighting a heavy hitter, and I'd worry if he was fighting a fighter with good stand up. But I don't think Amirkhani's either. Amirkhani's a grappling heavy fighter. He tends not to spend too much time striking before he's shooting in for the single legs. But the great thing here with Knight is I don't just think he's the better fighter on the feet. I think he's the better fighter on the ground as well, and then some. Better on the bottom, he's better on top. I just think he's better wherever he goes. If Amirkhani jumps into a single leg to take him down, I think Knight's going to go down. I think he'll use the other leg that Amirkhani hasn't grabbed to wrap up a rubber guard. I think from then he'll start throwing submission threats from bottom. I think he'll start throwing elbows from bottom. And we saw in the Ricardo Lamas fight as well, Lamas thought he could take him down and handle him. But you watch, after about 20-30 seconds of Lamas being on top of Jason Knight, he fucking stood up. And that's when Knight stood up, and then it all went downhill from there. But Lamas didn't want anything to do with that top game against Jason Knight. And Amirkhani is not Ricardo Lamas. He hasn't got a heavy top game. He doesn't rain a lot of shots down. We saw that against Arnold Allen.
But what I think he's good at grinding against the cage, and I think that's where he'll frustrate Knight in this a little bit. He'll go for a takedown, but it'll be one of them where he'll keep him up against the cage, get him in a clinch, elbows, knees, and he'll frustrate Knight a bit. That's what he's got to do to win. He's got to get in close.
But he doesn't, though. He jumps on the single legs and he jumps on for the takedowns. He doesn't stay in there and grind a clinch game. But even if he does, I think Jason Knight's got the more dangerous elbows. I think he's got the more dangerous knees in clinch. I think he's going to be the stronger fighter as well. Now,
the most interesting thing for me is the ground in this. That's the most interesting for me. I mean, on feet, like you just said, easy Knight will probably pick him apart. So that's just, it's not even going to be that fucking interesting.
Bouncing back from that, the interesting thing is I've heard that Amirkhani spent a lot of time in the boxing gym and for this camp, and pretty much all this camp just boxing.
That'd be good to know then.
Which is, I don't know how much to take of that, because you hear this a lot, and we heard it a lot with Damian Maia, and I know Damian Maia improved his boxing game from early in his career, but it's like I really don't know how much to stake in that, because Amirkhani, how much improvement can he make in his boxing game during one camp? And I know he spent a year out, so it'd be interesting to see like how much boxing he's actually done. But going from the level where he was at to actually, is he going to come and be this really crisp boxer? Because if he is, then I think Jason Knight will just duck in and take him down, because you go back to the Jason Knight and Dan Hooker fight. Dan Hooker's a killer Muay Thai fighter. We didn't know it back then when he was fighting Jason Knight, because he was new on the scene, but we definitely fucking know that now. And Jason Knight handled, he wasn't going all his way on the feet. He took him down 2 or 3 times, controlled him from top. And I don't think Amirkhani's great in scrambles. I said this when we've just been breaking the Burnell fight down. I think if he goes to take Knight down, I think he might have some success early. But eventually Knight's going to start scrambling those takedowns if they come. And if Knight's the one taking Amirkhani down and Amirkhani tries to scramble, I think Knight will manage to stay on top. We saw that in the Chaz Skelly fight. He had a lot of success at getting to the positions there where he wanted to be. Ultimately, I just think the more active Knight is, the worse it's going to get for Amirkhani, because just the last thing to touch upon before I give my final decision is Amirkhani has got poor cardio. In every single one of his fights, he gasses out. And the interesting thing about that is he gasses out against fighters that don't fight at a high pressure. Jason Knight fights at a high pressure. So if Amirkhani's gassing out against Arnold Allen, which wasn't a ridiculously quick fight, he's going to be gassing out at Jason Knight coming at me 100 miles an hour. Knight's fighting with his back against the wall. Lost back-to-back fights in the UFC. He's going to be pissed off. He's going to come out like a fucking train. He don't care about getting hit. Like I say, I
think he's a bit sloppy sometimes, but I know you're always high as fuck on Knight. I know you love him and that, but
no, he is sloppy. I agree.
He's inconsistent. I don't know. He's just not ever been one of my. I don't go to guys to watch and enjoy really because it's. I mean, yeah, it's fucking good to see a guy go 100 mile an hour, but consistently. So it's. I don't know.
If Ricardo Lamas fought Amirkhani, what would happen?
Oh yeah, we'd get fucking banned.
If Gabriel Benitez fought Amirkhani, what would happen? You can't. The point I'm trying to get at here is the two people that are beating Jason Knight in the UFC would fucking smoke Amirkhani, probably worse than what they did Jason Knight. Like I say, ultimately, I think the more active Knight is, the more tired Amirkhani is going to look as the fight progresses.
Yeah. That's the key, innit? The pressure for Knight in this.
And I do see the longer the fight going on, I think Jason Knight's eventually. I think the fight's going to end. I think the fight's going to start with us seeing a bit of the ground game. I think the longer it goes on, the longer it'll stay stood up. I think Jason Knight's going to end up busting Amirkhani up, and my prediction is Knight to score a TKO victory in the third round. From a betting point of view, because obviously this is a full breakdown, so I've got a bet on it. I've got 3.5 units on Jason Knight at -137. So what's your prediction on the result of the fight then, Ryan?
I'm going to take an underdog shot on Amirkhani, just because I know he's fighting your boy.
so how's he going to win then? Tell everyone how he's going to win.
I'm going to take a split decision, 29-28, Amirkhani. Absolute robbery. Absolute robbery. It's going to be a robbery, and I'm going to be fucking jumping around going, Kurdistani! Woo! What you know.
Right. Next one we've got Dan Kelly against Tom Breese. This one's easily my most confident on the night. Surprisingly enough, after the breakdown I've just given on Jason Knight. But yeah, I mean, I just at this point I don't really know what to even expect from Dan Kelly. Tom Breese is making he's going to be moving up to middleweight to fight Dan Kelly. He's taken a bit of time off due to a torn ACL, and I just think it's a good fight for Breese to come back to. Luckily, Kelly isn't known for excellent movement and great footwork, so if Breese is a little hesitant and cautious at first, I don't think it's gonna really cause him too many problems. If he was fighting someone that was quick and powerful, then being hesitant against that person might be a bit dangerous. But I just don't see that being the case with Dan Kelly. But Kelly's also got an ongoing knee problem himself. A lot of people are aware of that now. It's his lead leg. He's a southpaw fighter, so it's his right leg, which is the lead leg, and he wraps it up. You see, you'll know straight away. He wraps it up now, and Breese is also a southpaw fighter, and if you look at his previous fights, he's got a fucking heavy left kick, and he uses it.
Fucking body kick is monstrous.
Exactly. So you imagine that body kick on Dan Kelly's knee.
You'd worry really when you find someone like Dan Kelly about chucking that body kick because you could get taken down easily. But Tom Breese throws it quick as shit. It is snaps back. It's fucking well quick.
He also snaps with a front kick as well, and I just think that if he's smart out here and he comes to if I was Tom Breese, he's got a lot of avenues to win here for me because we've spoke about his kicks briefly already, but moving on to his hands, he's got quick hands, he's got combinations that work for him, he's got a vicious straight left as well, which I can see landing on Dan Kelly, and I actually think that's going to be the shot that knocks Dan Kelly out. Spoiler alert for my final decision here, but ultimately, I just think that the smartest thing to do is just fuck that knee up. Just go straight for the knee, throw some powerful left kicks at that knee, and then it's just going to be easy from there. I could even see Dan Kelly crumbling from that. But like I say, he's got power, he's quick, he's accurate, he's crisp, and then you've got Kelly. It's just a nightmare matchup for him. He's the smaller fighter. He doesn't offer any sort of great movement or head movement. You watch his fight against Elias, he was charging forward, winging shots at Elias Theodorou, and I was watching that tape just thinking, shit, if that were Breese, he's gonna get fucking cracked if he does that against him. He's got to be really smart here. Now, Breeze has got good takedown defense as well. But also when he gets taken down, he's got an awesome ground game. Like we saw it against Kaito Nakamura, and I know Nakamura was massively undersized in that fight, but every time he took him down, Breeze would either have a second, switch to a knee bar from guard, reverse position, stand up. There was some parts in that fight as well where he got taken down and instantly attacked a triangle. He's got a good ground game, and he's even been on Eddie Bravo's Invitational as well, which is a great grappling show. So that's that's nothing new to him. And I was even talking to KSW middleweight Yannick Bahati today as well, and because I know Yannick knows a lot about this dude, he's trained with him, and just to clear a few things up, because I asked for them to be cleared up as well, just so I knew, I sort of knew what was happening with his training. I thought he spent a lot of time at UTC, Tom Breeze, but he doesn't. He trains most of his camp at Renegade Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is primarily a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, but since UTC closed and moved over to West Brom, I believe, I don't know if it's open yet over there, pretty much all the UTC guys I heard have moved over to Renegade to do their training whilst, the gym's been in between two locations. So Breeze actually has had a proper camp. That was something I was a little bit worried about, but he has had a proper camp. He's still had Leon Edwards to train with. He's still had Fabian Edwards to train with, and Yannick as well. He's had a lot of good guys around him. Yannick said he's looking sharp. He's just looking really, really good in the gym, and I think Tom Breeze gets this done in less than 7.5 minutes. I really, really don't see. I just don't see Dan Kelly having too much success at all in this fight. I'd be fucking shocked if Tom Breeze loses this fight. I've got 4 units on him, and I got it nice and early at -196. You're roughly looking around the -300 mark now, which is
good, yeah.
Well, some Americans got this even better. I'm sure some people got this at like -170, -185 range. So I'm not annoyed by a -196. I think it's a great line, and I think he goes out there and gets the job done. So, what are you saying?
Yeah, I think he's going to go out, blow a bit of dust off Daniel Kelly's forehead, because he's old as shit now. So, yeah, and then fucking bang him clean out. I think he'll weaken him up, though. Like you said, those left kicks, they are fucking deadly. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good comeback fight for him. Moving up in weight as well, he's not going to struggle with cardio. I mean, yeah, Daniel Kelly might have a bit more power, but he'll soon.
See, I don't think he does. I think Breeze moves up to middleweight and looks like a middle.
I think he does anyway. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's quite a lanky dude for welterweight. I mean, when he fought Strickland, they were both fucking tall as fuck for welterweight, weren't they?
And that's another good fight to watch. I was watching that Strickland fight, and ironically, I bet on Strickland that night, and I thought he lost then. I rewatched the tape, and I thought he lost then still. I thought Breeze won that fight.
Yeah, I mean,
good.
I did originally as well. Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a bad decision. But, yeah, I do like Breeze in this. I think he wins comfortably. And like I said, it's got to be time up soon for old man Kelly.
Absolutely. And although, I mean, it is a betting podcast and all, although I bet Tom Breeze, I actually don't think I would bet him at -300. So for anybody listening to this and thinking about the bet, I'm not sure. But the one line I did see which was interesting, it opened at +160 as fight not to go the distance. I think it soon dropped down to about +130. I'm not sure where it's at now. I'd imagine maybe a bit more money's come on that, because or even taking Breeze inside the distance, I just really don't think this goes 3 rounds. It's just, at the time, it was -196. I had to make a snap decision because I knew the line was moving, and I just took it straight. I didn't want to wait about for the end of distance price. So,
well, I think it's got even worse on Breeze. I'm sure I checked earlier, and it's near -400.
Well, I'm looking now.
Sure.
It depends where you're getting it. I think in England, I mean, I can only see one English line on Best Fight Odds, and it's -278 at William Hill, so you can still get
is
under
it? Oh,
300.
that's not
But
bad.
the fight going the distance while I'm on here, it's +135 fight not to go the distance, and I still think there's value on that because you even get the fluke knockout of Dan
Yeah.
Kelly as well, if you can imagine that happening. But yeah, I think if you're going to be betting this fight, either wait to get Breeze inside the distance. If the fight not to go the distance is +135, you're probably looking at about +150 for Breeze inside the distance. Naturally, that's what I would guess at because it has to be worse than covering both guys to win inside. So yeah, roughly around that, I would take a bet, but I probably wouldn't play Tom Breeze now straight. So that's it for the full breakdown. So just to recap, I've got 1.5 units on Mads Burnell at +250. I've got 3.5 units on Jason Knight at -137. And I've got 4 units on Tom Breeze at -196. I'm on a 7-fight card winning streak at the minute. I'm really confident. I'm reading fights well. Confidence is such an underrated thing in this game. When you come to betting, it really does make a difference. It wasn't so long
Well done
ago
on that
that.
streak, man.
Cheers, man. I mean, it wasn't long ago when I was on a 5-card losing streak and things just weren't going right. I was having a lot of unlucky shit happening as well with, like, I know I hate to mention it, but Ankalaev getting subbed with a third of a second left in a fight that he was winning 30-25. I
Required.
I had Khalidov that was 2 rounds up in Poland against Narkoon and got triangled in the 3rd round, which was his first loss in like fucking 10 years, over 18 fights, I think it was. Just some weird shit like that. So, confidence does play a big part. And like I say, I'm just reading fights really well. I fully expect to cash from this card as well. I'll be really surprised if I don't. So yeah, it's all going good. Now moving into the quick fire round, I'm sure this first fight we're going to probably spend a little more time on than the rest, which is absolutely fine because I don't mind that whatsoever. And the first fight to talk about is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Darren Till. Now,
Woo-hoo!
go on, you go first. Tell everyone what's up.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Before I watched tape today, I were all over Thompson. I mean, fucking hell. I want fucking Till to knock him out. Definitely. I want to be sat there going, "You just got knocked the fuck out." But I don't know if that will happen. But I mean, it's just that Thompson trying to work out Thompson stand-up games, like trying to play Sheldon Cooper at 3D chess. It's just fucking ridiculous, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But I mean, what I did notice today when I was watching tape back is how good Till is on pressure and getting in close. He's in and out very quick compared to a lot of fighters. And I don't know if I've seen anyone put that kind of pressure on Thompson, really. So it'll be interesting to see how he backs to cage and circles, because Till does cut the cage up pretty well. But I mean, I don't know now. It's flip a coin for me. I don't know if I can see Thompson knocking Till out. If Thompson were to win, I think it'd be a decision. If Till won, I do think it'd be a knockout. But it's fucking very close for me at the minute.
Well, I'm not going to let you sit on the fence. So who are you picking to win?
No, I know. I'm going to pick Wonderboy just to edge it, I think.
Okay. Well,
I want Till to win.
I pretty much agree with everything you said apart from your final pick, and I'm not going to argue too much against it because I do agree. I think right now, for what we know, it is going to come. It is pretty much a coin toss because for me, I also agree as well. I don't think Wonderboy is going to knock Till out. I don't think he's got him in it unless for whatever reason he takes Till into the championship rounds and Till is gassed so hard
gases,
that he can barely stand up, and at that point, then you could maybe see a Wonderboy finish. But honestly, I think it's going to be either Wonderboy by decision or I think it's going to be Till by knockout. Because ultimately, I don't think Till can win a decision either, because if it does get those championship rounds, then Wonderboy's been there. He's been there twice with Woodley. He was a
he'll be
powerful
comfortable.
striker, and yeah, I just think I think Darren Till, and I've said this, I called this a while ago. I think it was in beating Bojan Velikovic and actually getting the Cerrone fight, which was a huge fucking jump to say he'd only just beaten Jessin Ayari before Velikovic. So I called this a while ago. I think Darren Till's potentially on a similar trajectory to what Conor McGregor was on, because he's talking his way into fights. He's also just knocked out Cerrone? Is it a decline in Cerrone? At the time we thought so, but then Cerrone's come back and knocked Yancy Medeiros out. So it's how much stock do you put in that? But then Yancy Medeiros was coming off that war with Cowboy Oliveira. So I don't know, but what I do know is Darren Till went in there against all odds after stepping up for a fight after beating Jesse Nayari and Bojan Velakovic by decision and knocking Cowboy Cerrone out in round number 1 after getting taken down as well. It was an impressive performance, and I just think that if, like I say, from what we know, it is pretty much a coin toss for me. But we said this with McGregor, like, and I know I keep saying McGregor's name, but I just see similarities in the rise of McGregor to the rise of Darren Till.
Pull.
And yeah, that straight
weird,
left, that's
imitates it very,
that's
I've
from
never
the
seen
fight
straight
point of
lefts
view.
like McGregor's until that put people to sleep.
But then all through McGregor's rise, we're saying, oh, this is a fucking huge step up. Can he do it? Then you see a knockout. His next fight, oh, well, this is an even bigger step up. Can he do it? Knockout. Or I don't know. There's something in the back of my mind that's thinking, this is Darren Till's time now. Whether he gets that title or not is a different matter, because you've got fighters like Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington in that division that are killer takedown artists. So I do feel a bit for Darren Till in making this rise at this time. But listen, if he's good enough,
well, I mean, look at when it got announced this match. I was a bit worried anyway, because I think it were too big of a step up for him, in my opinion.
But
look at Wonderboy. He's been fought for the title twice. Just come off that win, like absolutely dicked on Masvidal.
But you say that, and I thought the same as well. But do you not think it's weird that Wonderboy's dad didn't want, and Wonderboy didn't want this fight? Neither of them wanted to fight Darren Till.
No, I know, and now they've took it. Yeah, no, I know. But yeah, that's what I mean. What it is for me, like I said, I mean, if Till wins, it'll be fucking most amazing step up ever, because you're going from beating Cerrone, who, like you just said, he has been on a bit of a decline. So, but then obviously came back and won that. But I mean, I don't know. It's just a massive fucking jump to Thompson. Like I said, how much of a mystery his stand-up game is. It's
but then
just very
back
interesting.
To what I said, wasn't Jose Aldo a massive step up for McGregor, and he finished him in 13 seconds and left the world stunned.
Well, that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is UFC, baby. That is
UFC. The other thing I'm looking forward to seeing as well. I know I mentioned like there's a couple of strong welterweight wrestlers. There was also some strong wrestlers in featherweight when McGregor was making his rise, and he was good enough to fucking knock them out before they got a chance to use the wrestling. So it's, and Till's huge as well. Like, this is something none of us have mentioned right now, but Till's fucking massive for this division. Like, when he faced up against Cowboy, we were all just thinking, holy shit, what's this? I didn't realise he was that fucking big. Like, even when he fought Velakovic and Jesse Nayari, it didn't really stand out. It was only when I saw him against Cerrone, I was like, shit, he's massive.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember Cerrone wore at lightweight before that as well. So, I mean, he's never really been the biggest welterweight. But, yeah, I know what you mean. Still, compared to Cerrone, he is a fucking beast. Like,
yeah, it's weird. But, yeah, to wrap it up, my pick's Darren Till. I think he's going to knock him out. And I know Darren Till said he'll knock him out within 2 rounds. And I'll go with what the gorilla's saying. So, just interestingly to mention, though, Darren Till last night, it was plus 140, plus 150. And within half an hour, he dropped down to minus money. And in some places in America, you can now get Wonderboy at plus money. So there's been some big fucking money coming in on Till in the last 24 hours. So that's really interesting to see. For me, I really wanted to bet Till, but like I say, if you're not sure, you can't. And do you know what? I'm okay in saying, I'm absolutely fine in saying that I'm not sure on this fight, because some fights you just can't get a good read, and this is one of them. I've got an inkling Till's on his rise to the top, and yeah, Till by knockout's my pick. So moving on to the next quick fire, we've got Neil Magny against newcomer Craig White. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about Craig White. I know he's had quite a few fights in Cage Warriors. The guy's 14-7, so he's also took his losses as well. But then you look at his losses. Mike Shipman just signed a contract in Bellator from Bama, so he's a legit guy. He was also the BAMMA champion as well. He beat Yannick Bahati to take that belt off him. That was a brutal knockout. No shame in that whatsoever. Other losses, Leon Edwards. We all know about Leon Edwards. So I mean, he's fought some decent guys. Oscar Pihota as well is another loss who's now in the UFC. So yeah, he's fought some decent guys, but listen, coming in on short notice against Neil Magny, everyone knows I'm not a huge Neil Magny fan, but I just think Neil Magny's going to have too much here. I think the takedowns will come for him. I think he could grind out a decision, and that's what I think he'll do. I think he'll win a comfortable 30-27, maybe a 30-26 decision on the judges' scorecards. Who you got, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, like you just said, I've not got a fucking clue who this guy is. Not really done any. Didn't even want to look at it just because of price and stuff, so I didn't go into it. But yeah, obviously we're going to have Magny to win, probably absolute destroyed. So I don't know. I think probably decision, like you said. But like I said, because he's a newcomer, you won't be surprised if it's just a bit too much for him, and Magny does get a late finish. But
Yeah, I
Magny
mean, also
definitely.
short notice as well. It's been like a week, so or a week and a half maybe. So yeah, I think Craig White's really going to have his back against the wall here. But credit to him for taking the fight, because when Gunnar Nelson pulled out, I think a few people were maybe not turning Magny away, but there were a few names thrown in the hat, like even Jorge Masvidal, and the UFC couldn't really lock anything up for him. So credit to Craig White for taking the fight. I think if he does lose, I hope he does perform well and gets another fight in the UFC with a full camp. So next fight we've got Davey Grant against Manny Bermudez. Bit of a weird one for me. I thought Davey Grant got cut from the UFC, but I was having a look at his record, because I was tempted to take this fight, but I didn't end up doing it. I had a look at his record. He's actually not fought since his loss against Damian Stasiak. So whether he got cut or not, I'm really not sure. But David Grant was someone that I thought was okay. He's he's got a lot of submission wins on his record, but he also looks really dangerous on the feet. But Manny Bermudez is a different fucking animal when it comes
He's
to
a
fighting on the mat.
legit on the floor. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I think
Absolute animal.
I think the second this fight it's the mat, I think Manny Bermudez is going to lock something up and submit Davey Grant. And ultimately, I do think that fight hits the mat. The one thing to mention is Manny Bermudez did get dropped by a jab from Albert Morales. So.
Yeah, I mean, he does look pretty. That's where he needs to improve his game, Bermudez. He does look pretty sloppy on his feet. I mean, his hands are down. You can tell he's constantly just looking for the takedown. He's got no interest in standing with anyone, really.
Yeah. But ultimately,
and the best thing is he's good at transitioning from one submission to another as well. If you watch him, he's so good at going from a triangle to arm bars, and he'll get round your back rear naked. He's just non-stop with the subs. It's crazy.
I do think
love
it was pretty funny though, in that Albert Morales fight, because that was one we watched and we just laughed afterwards, because Albert Morales put his head into the guillotine. He put his own fucking head. His head was out. His head was okay. And he fucking put his head into the guillotine. It was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. But I do believe Bermudez would have got the sub anyway at some point. But it was just hilarious how that happened. Okay, my head's out, my head's fine. I'll tell you where I'll put it. I'll put it right underneath his armpit. It was hilarious. Like I say, ultimately, I do think Manny Bermudez is going to find a takedown at some point in this fight, and I do think he gets a submission win. So, who's your pick?
Yeah, I've got Bermudez. I think he gets sub in probably second round. I'd say I'd probably take under 1.5. I think he might just about get in somewhere around that range. But I do actually think he will find pretty easy meeting Davey Grant. I think he will finish him by sub.
I don't think under 1.5 is so bad either, because I think Grant might come out quite aggressive here, and he'll either come out quite aggressive and get caught, or come out quite aggressive and get taken down. And then obviously either way, you're under 1.5 is all right. But I don't know if that line's going to drop. I've got a funny feeling it'll be set at 2.5 anyway. So if you're not in the UK and you don't have a Coral Ladbrokes, which other fuckers do it? Coral Ladbrokes.
Don't Sky do it?
No, there is another one. I can't remember what it is, but we've got a few books over here that do all the unders and overs from 0.5 to 4.5 if it's a championship fight. But yeah, moving on to the next one, we've got your boy Eric Spicely against Darren Stewart. So who you got?
My boy Spicely. Well, no, I did have him in tough, didn't I, that year? I
And
mean,
every single other fight he's ever fought since.
apart from the one he won against fucking Santos, I did not have him in that. That is
And
fucking
nobody had him
typical.
in that fight.
Well, no, I know. No, I have actually gone for Stewart in this. I mean, it's when you watch tape on it, it's weird because when Stewart gets to the floor, he gets caught with submissions bad. And Spicely is pretty fucking good on the ground. So there is that chance he could do it. But I mean, if he loses this fight, Stewart is cut definitely. So for me, Spicely is just a bit of a quitter on feet. He can't really take many punches. He seems to go down pretty easy. I mean, well, that GM3 body kick, that weren't going down easy, I suppose. But I don't know. He seems a bit of a quitter in my eyes when he's getting bombarded with punches. And I think Stewart will just come out and overwhelm him a bit on feet.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that I think the only reason Stewart had another fight in the UFC is because that last fight with
Yeah.
Marquez, I think it was just fucking epic.
It was, yeah, it was sick.
But I'm going the other way, man. I watched tape on this
Yeah,
fight.
it don't surprise me.
I watched tape on this fight to bet it, and I actually thought Spicely could be good for around -180. And the reason I haven't bet it, and the only reason is I saw in two different fights, one of them being the Gerald Meerschaert fight, which you just mentioned, is in that Meerschaert fight, he was covering up when Meerschaert started to land punches. Now Meerschaert's not a striker, he's not a powerful striker, he's a grappler, and Eric Spicely just put his chin down, his hands over his ears, and he just covered
panic,
up
doesn't he?
while Meerschaert was just teeing off on him. And all I was thinking about at that moment is if that was Darren Stewart, he'd be sleeping.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that Spicely might have to weather a storm for a couple of minutes. I think he might just have to take a little bit of time on the outside to judge the fight. And at that point, I think he'll come in. I think he'll get a takedown, and I think he'll submit Darren Stewart. But like I said, I couldn't put my money on it because if I'd have bet Eric Spicely, knowing that I had slight concerns about him covering up, and then he goes out there and he covers up to Stewart teeing off on him and getting knocked out, I'll just be pissed off at myself for taking the bet when I knew I had a legit concern. Like, you look at my bets, crazy enough or not, with Mads Burnell, I don't have too much concern there. I think he's going to go out and win. I don't have too much concern with Jason Knight, and I definitely don't have too much concern with Tom Breese. So it just made sense that those were the three that I picked over Eric Spicely.
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you, this fight, Stewart and Spicer, is one of my main bets. I'm definitely going to have either under 2.5 or under 1.5, and I think under 1.5 will still be pretty decent price as well in this. Because, like I said, if Spicer does take him to the floor, I don't think it'll take long before he submits him. And Stewart, I think he'll come out swinging for fences anyway at first. So I think under 1.5 might be a pretty good fucking price.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, we've got Nordine Taleb against Claudio Silva. Now, Claudio Silva's had about 4 years off. I didn't really know too much about the guy until I watched a bit of tape because I saw he was
There's a lot of injuries on it.
Yeah, a lot of injuries, and I saw that he was a third degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, which is always interesting to me. As soon as I see that on anybody's
resume,
I look into it instantly. But the dude gasses. He's got very limited stand up. He is always looking for a takedown, not always successful. Nordine Taleb's big. He's powerful. He'll defend takedowns. If he goes past a round here against Claudio Silva, he's definitely going to knock him out because Silva just doesn't have a gas tank, and like I say, Taleb's powerful. So yeah, Nordine Taleb by knockout is my pick. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that as well. I do want Silva to win because I've got him in my underdog draft. I'm way behind in that, so I had to go for an underdog. So I do want Silva to win, but I do think Taleb probably will knock him out.
Cool. Next one, we've got Brad Scott against Carlo Pedersoli Jr. Now, Carlo's had a lot of love on Twitter, and I sort of get it in a way. The fade on Brad Scott, he's not looked too great as of late. He's moving down a weight division as well, and he was never small at middleweight either. But I don't know, man. Like, when you look at Pedersoli, his record, he's 10-1. I get that, but he's not fought great guys. A lot of people are putting a lot of stock into the fight with Nicholas Dalby that he won a split decision. Like Pedersoli's gonna be great just because he beat Dalby. Dalby's not a great fighter, and he's definitely not as great as he used to be when he was dragging out draws with Darren Till. And you look at Pedersoli's last 3 fights before Nicholas Dalby, they've got a combined record of 4-9. Out of his last 3 opponents, they've got a combined record of 4-9. I don't know how much stock you can put into that now. I do know that some of the people that have bet Pedersoli are sharp as fuck, good gamblers. So I do factor that in as well. Now I've got a bit of inside info on Brad Scott. I know somebody that trains with him. They said he's healthy, he's doing all the right things. He's not looking like he used to. Apparently, when he was due to fight Marshman in his last fight, his weight cut was really good. He was looking really healthy, and devastated that Marshman obviously pulled out because he was ready to go. So if his weight cut was looking great then, I assume it's going to look okay now. And I do think we're going to see a better Brad Scott than what we've seen in his last couple of fights, because he's lost to legit guys as well. For example, Jack Manson. I know Manson put him away quite easily, but you look at Brad Scott in that fight, he didn't look himself, he didn't look healthy. And even though I'm saying I think we're going to see a better Brad Scott, how much better, I don't know. I do get the fade on him, but I think you've got to fade him in the right spots. And a guy that's coming in on very short notice, making his UFC debut, coming off a split decision win to Nicholas Dalby, and his last 3 opponents before that having a combined record of 4-9, I'm going to be picking Brad Scott to win. Probably by an ugly, disgusting split decision, maybe. But,
Yeah, another one.
It's just a pick. Like, I'm definitely not going to bet it. I do hope that Pedersoli wins, just because I know a lot of people, good people that I talk to on Twitter have bet him. So I hope he cashes for all you guys. This is just a pick from me, but based on what I know and what I've been told, I'm going Brad Scott by a decision. So who you got?
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about this Carlo Pedersoli. I'm gonna pick him just because I've never really been impressed with Brad Scott. Any guy who comes with a record, debut in UFC, they always seem to put on a show. They want to impress. They want to get a better fight. You can see him surely gonna be in there to do that. But again, going back to weight cut, I don't know. If it goes past round 1, you might start to see a bit of a gas tank problem from Brad Scott. So I don't know. It's probably going to be like you said, a scrappy, horrible split. But I'm going to take Carlo.
Cool. Next one, we've got Gillian Robertson against the debutant Liverpudlian Molly Meatball McCann. Now,
Meatball? What?
Yeah. She's an exciting fighter, man. She's a good striker. She's got a quick hand. She comes in well. She's good on the counter. Fought Cage Warriors 3 times as well, 2 decisions and a finish there. Gillian Robertson's going to be a tough out for her, though. This isn't going to be an easy test whatsoever. Robertson, she loves to get a hold of her fighters, get them down to the ground. Ultimately, I just think Molly McCann can stay on the back foot. I think she can counter her as she's coming in to try and close that distance. Man, the fucking crowd is going to be behind Molly McCann here, being the hometown girl.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a difficult crowd for Gillian Robertson and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, because they're going to feel something they've never felt before. These Liverpoolians are going to go fucking nuts when their fighters are coming out. So,
and that's only going to be a taste of what it's going to be like when Darren Till fucking walks down there.
Definitely, that arena's going to erupt. So yeah, I'm going to be picking Molly McCann, and I'll pick a fight decision. So who you got?
Yeah, I've got same. I've got probably. Well, I said 30-27 originally, but you never know. Robertson might get down for a round or something. But yeah, I'm going to stick with my gut and say 30-27 McCann. Meatball.
Right, so next one, we've got Elias Theodorou against Trever Smith. Who you got?
Theodorou, I've just got him by his usual self, picking people apart a bit. And like I say, I've never really thought he's that great. He can be a bit sloppy at points, but I think he'll outpoint Smith and get a 30-27.
I'm the other way, man. Elias has won me a lot of money in the past. I do like the guy. He's not fun to watch, but he gets the job done. I don't mind Trevor Smith, Again, I've won quite a bit of money on Trevor Smith. He's got that grindy wrestling style. You can argue his last win was Kamosi, and every man and his dog beats Kamosi. But I don't know. I just think that if he can get takedowns in 2 of the rounds, and he lays Elias on his back, I'm not sure Elias gets back up to his feet. But I mean, this is by no way a confident pick, because if it was, I'd be laying the plus 300 dog down in Trevor Smith. I wouldn't be surprised one little bit if Elias evades everything in life except the cage, in this situation, and hits him with one shot, and then we don't see any action for the next round. Hits him with another shot, and we don't see any action for the next. That wouldn't surprise me if he totally evades Trevor Smith and takes a decision. But again, it's a pick, not a confident one. Otherwise, I'd be betting it. I love my wrestlers. I just believe that Trevor Smith can use his wrestling and take a decision. So next one, we've got the last one, Gina Mazany against Lina Lansberg. Who you got?
Mazany, probably decision again. Another women's decision. We love our women's decisions.
Over 2.5 are the locks.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
might even double them up.
I've got Gina Mazany as well. I think she'll score takedowns. I think she'll
I do.
I think she'll score takedowns in at least 2 rounds and win a decision. So that's it for the breakdown. So just a quick message from me. If you're listening to the podcast on the Newsome MMA YouTube channel, it's also available on the Newsome MMA website too, along with so much other content surrounding all aspects of MMA. It really does have something for everybody on the website, from betting advice to prediction videos and podcasts to specific content coming from heavy duty fight management as well. Also, please check out the sponsors of Newsome MMA, which is CBD Life UK. You can access their offers from my sponsorship by clicking any of the banners on the Newsome MMA website, and you also get 15% off your first order by using promo code Newsome MMA. So don't miss out on that offer. Once again, any likes and subscriptions, it's really appreciated right now. The channel's still growing, and I just want to say thanks, Ryan, for taking the time to break some fights down with me tonight, and I shall be back next week for UFC Utica. So we will see you then.
Yeah, no worries, mate.